It's a story we've been covering from the beginning. She was crowned America's youngest female self-made billionaire, and Silicon Valley heralded her as the next Steve Jobs. Elizabeth Holmes turned the tech world upside down when she promised to transform healthcare. And she was going to do it with this blood testing device, the Edison. She called it the iPod of healthcare and claimed it could run hundreds of lab tests with just a single drop of blood from a finger prick. But an explosive investigation revealed it was the scam of the century. And now she's facing her Blockbuster trial for fraud. Today, I'm sitting down with one of the first people Elizabeth Holmes approached with her early idea for Theranos. But first, Dr. Oz Show's senior investigative correspondent, Mars Giavacampo, has the latest on the case.
You all are part of something that is going to change our world. What higher purpose is there?
Elizabeth Holmes' mission was not just to transform medicine, but the world. Many compared her to her idol, Steve Jobs. At the age of just 19, she dropped out of Stanford University to form the biotech company Theranos, a combination of the words therapy and diagnosis. She promised that with just a prick of a finger and a drop of blood, her revolutionary medical technology could analyze multiple diseases in record time. And the need for needles and endless vials of blood would be obsolete. Unsurprisingly, the world was captivated. Holmes graced the covers of major magazines and attracted hundreds of millions in investment. At its peak, Theranos partnered with corporate giants like Safeway and Walgreens to offer its blood tests in their stores. But behind the scenes, many Theranos employees claimed it was all a charade.
Elizabeth was lying about the accuracy of the blood tests.
It's all a show.
She didn't want anybody to see what was going on in there.
In a panic, I went and bought a burner phone. I called the Wall Street Journal.
In 2015, John Carreyrou, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist for the Wall Street Journal, blew the story wide open. He spoke on this show about a secret room at Theranos that was hidden from inspectors.
You went to that room by going downstairs, and those stairs were hidden behind a door with a key card. And the inspector never thought to ask, well, what's behind that door?
Elizabeth Holmes is currently on trial for multiple counts of fraud and faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted.
Mara joins us now. Elizabeth's trial is well underway with more than 200 potential witnesses. What do we know about them so far?
Yeah, so witnesses so far include a lot of former employees, board members, and investors, including a lot of very high-profile names, like former Defense Secretary James Mattis, who was a board member, the former CEO of Safeway, and the former Chief Financial Officer of Walgreens. So these are very big players in the business and financial world, and they've testified that Holmes actively deceived them, essentially tricking them into investing millions and millions of dollars in this company.
What about the patients? They didn't invest money, but they risked their lives. How were they affected by these inaccurate test results? Has that come to light yet?
Yeah, it's really important not to lose sight of the patients because these are real people whose lives were affected by these test results. So one former employee testified of a patient who changed their blood thinning medication based on a Theranos test result, which was wrong.
Oh my goodness.
We also heard directly from a patient who testified that her Theranos blood test told her she was actively miscarrying her pregnancy. Now, this was a woman who had suffered 3 prior miscarriages. So you can only imagine how devastating that news must have been, but the test was wrong, and she went on to deliver a healthy baby girl.
It's horrible.
Horrifying.
What do we know about this blood testing machine? Have we got more insights into it? Again, we've been talking about this story for a while. I actually had the Wall Street Journal author that sort of broke the story on our program, but I never really understood what this machine was about.
Yeah, so a lot of former employees have testified that the machine never worked the way that Holmes claimed it did. It was never functioning the way that she advertised it was, and she knew that. So one former employee testified that the devices routinely failed quality control testing, and that the company would then fudge the data by deleting numbers that show that the test results were inaccurate. And in fact, the company's former lab director said he believed that Holmes cared about profit way more than patient care.
The story we hear a lot about. Let's get some details here. There's one person who knew from the very beginning that Elizabeth's blood testing technology never worked, like she claimed anyway. It is Dr. Phyllis Gardner. She joins us now. Dr. Gardner, you're one of the very first people that Elizabeth approached with her early idea for Theranos. I was riveted when I heard that she'd come to you, and then I'd love to hear from you firsthand. What was it like meeting with her, and what did you tell her?
Well, she came to me in 2003 before she founded this company with a different idea. And that's where the title Theranos came from, because she wanted to take a skin patch, attach it to a skin with nanochannels in it, and she wanted to sample blood, test for infectious disease, and then administer antibiotics through the nanochannels. And this is simply not possible. I knew about drug delivery, and I knew the skin patch was not going to work. So I just kept telling her that. Twice she came, same idea. She didn't, as they say, blink an eye. Didn't seem to register.
So she comes and she talks to you. You say, I don't think so. Besides not blinking an eye, did she have any other sense of registration? When she came back the second time, did she present it differently? Had she improved the idea with your advice?
No, that's this, in retrospect, a very strange thing. It was as if nothing had registered from the first meeting. And I just got tired. So I thought, I can't deal with this anymore. I'll refer you to other people who understand it, to try to get across to you that's not going to work. Of course, it's not the idea she commercialized.
So there's always been a deep fascination with Elizabeth's voice, which is also deep, right? You say that when you met her, her voice was not as deep as it has been since the rest of the world has met her.
Absolutely. Do not remember that deep voice, and I would have. I have a deep voice, but not as deep as her has she developed. And then next time I saw her was 2015, in person, across the table at a Harvard Medical School Advisory Board meeting. And she opened her mouth and started talking, and I almost fell over. It was so different.
All right, well, that meeting was important for a lot of reasons. So up next, the moment Dr. Gardner faced Elizabeth Holmes after going public with her doubts about Theranos in the Wall Street Journal. I am back discussing the Theranos scandal. Dr. Phyllis Gardner was one of the very first people Elizabeth Holmes approached with her early idea for Theranos. And she did not hold back when she felt the idea would not work. So Dr. Gardner, when Elizabeth founded Theranos and later rose to prominence, did you ever question if you were wrong about her?
Well, actually, her grandiosity to me was ridiculous. So time went on. 10 years before she really revealed her website and her Theranos technology, or almost 10 years. But over the course of that time, I met people who worked there, knew people who'd worked there. I also began to get real information from the inside.
So you say you were getting that information, again, from people around the company, now actually from insiders as well, about the challenges Theranos was facing early on. Did they give you specifics about what the game plan was to fix them? Why were they staying at the company if they were confident that what was being created was dysfunctional or even worse, just a lie?
It's a good question. I can tell you that the reason I had such grave concerns is I began hearing of patients who were getting false results, and employees who knew the company well were telling me that the technology was not working, that she was using standard equipment, and that she was lying about her CLIA certification. The head of the clinical lab also told me it didn't work. He finally quit. I don't know why he didn't quit earlier, but he finally quit after telling her she shouldn't launch at Walgreens, etc.
So I spoke with John Carreyrou on this show in 2019 after he broke the story for the Wall Street Journal. He was the author. You went on record with your doubts about Elizabeth in that article. So you spoke to him. Why was it important for you to finally speak up? Why come out? Why come forward when no one else was?
I'll tell you why. I knew John, and I was trying to help because I don't like people who lie to patients and harm employees and their families.
For the day that bombshell article was published, you found yourself sitting across from Elizabeth at a Harvard board meeting. Was she behaving like the article was a problem? Did she stay for the whole meeting?
Oh, no. Didn't blink an eye about that. Just sat there and smiled, and of course went home and said, was a terrible reporter.
Now that Elizabeth Holmes is facing her federal fraud trial, her defense team has argued that it's common practice for startups to overpromise what they deliver to garner investments. So I do think there's a general belief that sometimes in Silicon Valley, people outdrive their headlights because they're racing to get better ideas. Do you believe, Dr. Gardner, that what Elizabeth did is any different from what happens regularly with new companies in Silicon Valley?
Absolutely. Yes, they overpromise in their financial projections and in their market size. But when you do a medical diagnostic company, you do not lie about your machine, about your technology. She broke every rule. You don't fake it till you make it in medical devices.
So what do you think are the most important lessons from the Theranos scandal for Silicon Valley and for the tech industry in general? Because we're dealing with the consequences.
First of all, you must not take patient lives at risk, ever. And you should not, and she did. You must not treat employees and their families in the horrific way she did. And also, I think this is an aberration. I think my personal opinion is she has a serious personality disorder. I'm not a psychiatrist.
Yes, that's right.
I am a doctor.
Well, you also dealt with her personally, so I thank you and appreciate your honest feedback here. Elizabeth Holmes has pleaded not guilty to charges of fraud and maintains her innocence. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.